Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 107. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dave.
And on this week's episode, is it worth it?
All right, guys, welcome back to the You Can Man podcast, where we think, what one man can do, you can probably do.
You might be able to do as well.
You might be able to do as well.
But it might not be worth it.
But we think you should try. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about, is it worth it? Kind of an extension of an old episode we did on do-it-yourself or hire a pro. Kind of a theme we've talked about off and on through a lot of our episodes. And I think it's come up on the Facebook group before, like, do I need to hire this out, that sort of thing. Look, it's a legitimate question, and we thought it needed to be revisited. So going to be talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as always, the spirit of the podcast is take a good look at it and think about it, see what you could do yourself,
right,
and then make some judgment calls on.
We're always going to default to doing it yourself, obviously.
Maybe.
I am. Maybe Dave.
Unless it's a garage door.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. We should talk about that. Totally. But first, guys, what has been going on?
Well, first of all, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. 'Tis the season, boys.
Yes, this should release before Christmas.
So we're five
Christmas.
days out from Christmas. And something that I want to talk to you guys about, maybe this has come up before, but I need to know who these people are that think it's acceptable to put reindeer antlers on their car. Now, I don't want to say I'm sorry to any of you folks out there in You Can Man land that are riding in your minivan right now with reindeer antlers.
Way to be a Scrooge.
I'm not gonna apologize because I just don't understand it, man. Like even the Rudolph, nose on the front, I'm gonna allow that. But the antlers, man, it's almost like antenna telling me to stay away from you.
Wow. That's harsh, man.
I don't think it's harsh.
I'm a Grinch, and it's kind of...
They just look so stupid to me.
Josh, did y'all put up a Christmas tree?
Oh, that's another thing I want. You're talking about Scrooges. You guys...
Trees.
What?
Have you ever every time I come over to these houses of yours, zero Christmas lights.
What are you talking about?
There's no Christmas lights out there.
We got 2 Christmas trees.
You have no Christmas lights on the outside of your house.
Yeah, I know. My kids want that every year. And
your poor kids are never going to have Christmas lights on their house. It's almost like a badge of honor when you're a kid. It's like my lights are better than your light. My dad's lights are better than your dad's.
It gets too late in the season, and I'm like, lazy. I'll do that next year.
I think we need to write this down for a podcast next year.
My wife is a very understanding lady and lets me get away with a lot of stuff, but that's one thing she won't let it slide. She's like, "You gonna be putting those lights up today?" Like she kind of requires it, so it gets done. She doesn't require the reindeer antlers on the car, though. Thankfully.
What if she did?
I'd have to. I would not do it. 100%. I would say we're not doing that.
Would she be allowed to do it on her own vehicle?
No, they would come. They'd be take. I wouldn't ride in it. I'm not going to ride. I'm not riding with reindeer antlers on my car.
I know that everyone has that one idea that you're like, hey. That was my idea, and I could have made $1 million if I'd executed it.
Oh, yeah. Was that your thing?
In like 1997, in the Sprayberry High School parking lot, I was walking through at night, and it was wintertime.
I know this story.
And somebody had one of those college flags stuck in their window. And like I glanced, and I was like, that looks like a reindeer antler, like on the car, like characteristic of a reindeer antler. And I was like, man, somebody should make reindeer antlers for cars, and then 5 years later, they were everywhere.
If you were,
they probably had that. I mean,
hadn't seen
never
them, right?
seen it up to that point.
If you were the kind of guy that put lights on his house,
then
then you'd be the kind of guy that would have made that happen. But
that's the sort of thing you're not going to get a patent on that.
Yeah, you could. Are you
know.
kidding me? Come on.
Antlers for a car.
I don't know how patents work.
You see how many idiots out there are doing it?
You know what? This is completely random concerning patents and cool products that I just haven't seen yet, but somebody made. The lights in the coolers. We've talked about this before. Was it not on Shark Tank?
Smart.
That's a really good idea. I don't use coolers enough to think about that.
But I think they did actually have a patent on it. How'd they come to market? I mean, I have yet to see a cooler.
There's got to be one of those $1,400 Yetis has to do that.
I don't know. I've never even seen a Yeti that does it. Maybe I'm just completely
I haven't seen
ignorant.
it either. Is that an idea you had?
The execution seems
You just
pretty
saw it
I
on
don't
Shark
think
Tank.
so. No.
Okay, all right. That's a good idea.
Well, to Josh's kind of point, I guess it was like a when you see this, you're like, did not someone already think?
I think that's the
Like,
hurdle you have to get over. You can't do the thing of someone's already
That's
done
not how
this. You can't-
inventors think.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You just go for it.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and just put this out here on the podcast because I can't make it happen myself. So one of you,
Sure you can.
out here listening to the podcast can make this happen. Contact me, please. But I'm just going to
It
go ahead.
has already been done though. Like it's been on national television, right?
Not what I'm talking about. I got another idea.
Okay. All right.
I'm
You're
going,
moving on.
I'm going another completely random
Please
direction.
don't be
here.
We
reindeer
should have
antlers.
called this episode patents.
Right.
Inventing.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that I've told you guys about this before. All right, you're pumping gas. I've told you this, have I not? Okay.
You haven't told me.
Okay, you're pumping gas. You get done, and you leave it in the thing there, and you try to get the
You give the one more chunk.
yeah. You try to get the last little bit
No,
out
you
of
let
there.
it dribble. You
Oh yeah.
shake it
Yeah,
around.
you let it drip.
Got to.
It doesn't matter what you do. Like how you try to get the last little bit of gas out. Whenever I don't care what you do.
You get a little bit of drib.
When you take the thing out, it drips at least 3 drops.
Yeah, you're getting some dribbles.
It never fails on the ground.
Multiplied by thousands.
Why
at that
can't
gas station.
someone invent a completely dripless gas nozzle? And I've got ideas.
I'm surprised
I've got ideas.
California hasn't made that.
I know,
a
because
law.
the
they're
gas
just getting
pump-
rid of engines.
The hand,
Right.
yeah, they are. The handle is the same as it has been as long as I can remember.
Well,
I'm sure there are small differences or maybe like internal things, but it's the same thing by and large since the
probably.
80s.
I've got an idea that I think would work. It'd be too much to like explain, but if somebody out there's listening and you're like a really smart engineer dude that would want to tackle
Dripless
this,
nozzle.
You could just do a valve. I'm sorry. I wish we had an engineer on the podcast. Good Lord. You could just
You're
do like a valve on
structural
you could do a valve on like the end of the nozzle that closed it off. Right?
I think you'd still have surface tension that would still have
Maybe.
a couple drips outside that area.
If only I had studied surface tension in engineering school, which I did.
Well, then you make it, Dave.
Hey,
Yeah.
this is something
No,
you
I-
sell to the government.
That's what I'm
is.
talking about.
That's a big contract.
Sell it to the
Now, I
state.
did do some patent searches, and I did come across some inventions that were along these lines, but nothing really like what I was thinking. Now, it probably exists, but then I'm like, why hasn't it been implemented if it doesn't exist? Because think about how many times people get gas across the world every day,
Yeah.
and every single one of those
Just go
people
straight on the ground.
right on the ground. And I mean, I guess you could say that it kind of like evaporates or whatever. Or
Some of it,
I don't know,
sure.
but there's got to be some
It's
sort
running
of
off.
You know what?
environmental impact.
You know what bothers me more than at the end is so being I have a motorcycle and I don't really ride anymore, but when I did, what bothered me more was when I would take the handle off of the pump and I would turn it. So if you can imagine pumping up a motorcycle, the tank is generally in front of you, right? The opening for the tank is on the top of the motorcycle. So you take the pump and you turn it over, and then there was always remnants in the nozzle that would fall out onto the tank, and you're like, oh, like it would just burn you
I
up.
see what you mean.
Yeah. So Tim, get on it.
Hey, man, I need some help.
Find an engineer friend.
I
and,
need a little
make
help
it
from my
happen.
friends.
What's
all
up
right?
with this? Phil, do you move my thing, man?
It was bulging into it.
Dave's talking about
I'm
it.
messing with my
His
mic.
pop filter.
Is that what it is? Called a pop filter?
Yeah.
Pop.
Goes over the mic.
It's all jacked up.
Sorry.
all right, cool.
I don't think I've messed with
I
it.
did it.
Josh did.
No, so we're good. You got anything else?
Yes, Josh,
Since
I
last
wanted to
month?
talk to you about your table saw. So
you didn't hurt yourself, did you?
no,
Okay.
but when I flip that paddle switch, I guess that's
The table
the
is
thing.
like
No, it sounds like death.
Oh,
like it
it does.
sounds like I'm about to die.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about.
Very aggressive start.
It's not a what am I trying to say? It's not like a a really high powered table saw. I mean, it's like
Not a
little
high-end table saw
It's
either.
not.
It's a
But
Harbor
that
Freight?
thing,
It's not
no,
Harbor Freight.
It's not.
It's a skill, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, but also, it not only does it sound like death, but then
The
you've got
top's
it.
not bolted.
It's not bolted down.
No,
Did
it's
he say-
not.
He's got it on now.
You got to transport it because a couple of my
Right.
friends borrow it.
Who?
Yes,
Who?
I used it like two different
Twice last
times
week,
this past week. Oh gosh, this is ridiculous. I narrowed an IKEA PAX wardrobe.
Nice.
Okay, hopefully most of our listeners know.
You took a
what that is.
saw to an IKEA
Yes,
product?
because I renovated our closet. I think I talked about this last time. Anyways, a couple different PAX wardrobes went into this space that was my wife's original closet. Like I opened it up, slid these big unit PAX wardrobes in there, and there was like this narrow area left over that were like, well, I mean, I could wall this up and it's just like this empty cavity kind of thing in there, or I could try to use it. And then my wife had the idea, well, why don't we just get another PAX wardrobe and you cut it down and modify it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I did it. It was fine. I mean,
It's a pro move right there.
I had to cut down 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 pieces, I think. And then I had to transfer, the holes that accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, no, I didn't actually do that on that one side. What I did was I was like, forget those. I don't know. What are those little connectors that IKEA uses? It's like a,
The spawn of Satan is what they are. I think the moral of the story, Josh, is that you need to get a better table saw for your friends to use
Yeah.
that actually works.
Well, it's scary. It works. It's just scary.
It is scary.
It is,
and
yeah.
it's hard to figure out how to unfold it. And you're like, I think it's going this way, but then it goes the other way, and you're like, it gets
Unfold it.
Gets
You're
all
talking about-
cattywampus.
you-
I'm talking about your.
Now you're talking about
I'm talking about your
miter
miter
saw.
saw. I'm talking about your
Yeah.
miter saw. I haven't borrowed your table saw, I don't think. Yes, I have.
just returned
It
it
is
for
not bolted
months.
down. All right. Now I'm thinking of the other one that's all janky. That one is
My
more.
miter saw's nice.
The miter saw is nice. The table saw is super sketch
Yeah.
because table saws are sketchy to begin with.
Well-
and then when it's not bolted,
Well, I can't. It's a pain to bolt down, and you can't transport it
so when I
without
borrowed it,
a pickup truck, which none of us
yeah,
have at
because
this table.
we're all wusses. But you did have it bolted down you had bolts going through it with a nut that didn't fit the threads on there at one
You
point.
sure?
Yeah.
I mean, I just
Anyway.
set it on top of the stand that he had.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fine with it.
Just don't push hard on it. Don't tip it
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a couple wiggles before I.
Oh yeah.
Turn
That's
that
not
thing
going
on.
anywhere.
All right, so let's talk about, is it worth it? All right, now we've debated this. The things that are coming to my mind when I think about this topic that we've debated is changing your own oil. I think we've
the big
talked
one.
about this like so much.
Yep.
That's not necessarily a job that you're actually thinking, oh, I need to hire a professional. It's more like, I just don't have the time to do it. So
You should be able to do it. Everybody, I think, in our opinion, our humble opinion, you should know how to change.
you should know how to change.
Now I'm
your
not
own
doing
oil.
it anymore. I've done it enough, and I'm done.
I
you need
think
to
I
know
will
how.
forever do it.
I believe
Even if
that.
I become a millionaire,
Yep.
I will continue to do it myself.
I believe that. I think I'm not going to say it's noble. My whole thing is the friggin' storing of the oil. I'm just not going to do it. I don't mind changing it. It's the oil. You
I
have to,
just bought a couple of those things from Walmart, the like
Yep.
storage things.
Me too. They've been full for 5 years.
Dude, just take it to
No,
AutoZone.
I'm not doing it.
It's super easy.
I'm not.
a hill Dave's gonna
I
die on.
debate whether I'm going to take it or whether I'm just going to pour it in the backyard. Like that's where I'm at with it. And so it just sits in my garage for. It might be more than 5 years.
Well, I've stockpiled a bunch of it because for probably like 2 years now, I kept telling myself I was going to use. You guys ever seen the old oil diesel mixture staining of wood technique? Have you seen this before? I think we should do it on the floor of your trailer, Josh. I think that would actually be
I need to replace some boards.
a good use of
Double wide.
But it's actually, if you think about it, it's actually better for the environment. I know this sounds super weird, but probably better for the environment for you to use old motor oil and diesel fuel to stain your wood and seal it.
No.
Than it is
Then
to
what?
get. than to get the sealant. I mean, think about
chemicals.
it. I mean, it's probably
I
just
guess.
as worse.
I feel like we're splitting hairs.
Well, at least this way, it's already been used, and you're recycling.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I've heard it said that could be a better for the environment situation. Okay, that was off topic.
That's what we do, man. Look, we go in all directions, and it's entertainment. That's what we provide here.
Okay, but what we're kind of really getting at is those jobs that you definitely could do yourself, but it is a massive learning curve. So I've got a pretty big, well, very, very big bathroom renovation coming up where I'm like, I'm taking it down to the studs. Okay, taking everything out. I'm expanding the space. I'm taking over like 2.5 closets. I've never done tile work before. I've helped somebody do floor tile before, but it was just kind of like, hey, hand me that tile, set it here. Yeah, like I just haven't done it. I've ripped out a lot of tile, but I've just never done it before. So I'm kind of thinking like, man, am I going to get into this? Because I'm planning to do every single bit of that entire thing myself. Plumbing, any electrical, everything.
That's at one end of the well, the tile thing, but is not at one end of the spectrum. But doing that entire job by yourself, like debating that or thinking about that, should I do that myself or hire a pro? That's one end of the spectrum, right? Like I feel like most people are going to hire a lot of that out, but you're looking at doing it all yourself. I think you should. Well, we do have. You should treat yourself and be like, you know what? I'm going to have somebody do this tile.
We do have 3 full bathrooms. Now they're small bathrooms, but we've got 2 other bathrooms. So when I'm tearing this one apart, it's not like, you know, we're not down to 1 bathroom or no bathroom. So obviously that would change my thoughts on the matter. So like if you're looking at renovating your master bath and you've only got the 1 other bathroom and you've got like 3 kids, well, I don't know. You might be thinking, is it worth it? You know, maybe I need to hire this out. But something like tile, I mean, it's a friggin' art form, you know, a lot of times, like to be really, really good at it. Yeah. And I'm about to like spend a lot of money on tile and then try to do it myself. I mean, who knows? I might do a good job, but chances are I probably won't.
Yeah, you got to be honest with yourself and, you know, can I handle this? Do I want to handle this? Tile's one of those things where I think most people can do it, but it's easy to mess it up. And if you get into a situation like if you're not a pro, it's just not going to look great.
Tile is so visible. Like if you know basic electrical, it's behind walls. And as long as you install an outlet in the right place, you've done a pretty good job. You know, it might not be the you know, the way an electrician who's done it for 20 years has
don't
done
have
it.
bare wires,
but as long as
exposed,
as long as it's safe,
yeah,
it's connected, then it works. But like tile is
it's out there.
I'm walking on this every day. Like every imperfection, like under your feet, can be felt. And yeah, the risk is higher on tile.
Yeah, and another thing with it too is that as I'm doing research, I'm realizing, oh, okay, there's multiple different ways to go about doing this. So then I get to thinking, so I've got a 1964 ranch. So you listeners who have not demoed an old bathroom, especially a ranch style, I mean, I guess anything prior I don't know, through the 60s, maybe up and through the 70s. I mean, they did it. They've done it forever. But the way that they would do tile is they would literally make this massively thick mortar bed.
Yeah, it's built like a tank, right?
Yeah, so they didn't have the concrete board, stuff like that. They would literally make
They pour a slab onto the subfloor.
I mean, pretty much. Yeah. So I've demoed
with wire in it.
Yeah, I've demoed a bathroom. I think it was a late 50s ranch. It was a friend of ours. It was the thickest mortar bed I have ever seen. I don't even know how. It was like they sunk in the floor and did that on purpose to do it. So like a lot of times it'll be like, your house will have 2 layers of subfloor like mine does. I've got 2 layers. So they only put the first layer in the bathrooms and then they put the mortar bed. So then in that way, the floor is level with the rest of the floor in the house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. What, you don't get that?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So what?
I just shook my head.
So, anyways, I'm just thinking like, well, why couldn't I just do that again? I mean, I know that would be crazy, but I'm also looking at the tile that is currently in those bathrooms. Now, it may be peach and lavender and turquoise. Those are my 3 different bathrooms.
Just like Grandma liked it.
We haven't renovated them. And we had matching
Toilet.
fixtures. We had like peach toilet, peach sink, and then the lavender one was
I don't know
all
why.
matching lavender.
Why do you want to change it? It
some
sounds
people,
gorgeous.
I know some people listening would be like,
You can make
"Why are
money
you
on
changing
those.
that?" So
No, they're not.
Well, it's funny when we did change out the toilets. So when we were first doing a lot of the renovations, again, I haven't really touched the bathrooms, but I did change out the toilets. The previous owners, they're like, "Hey, if you get rid of that the purple toilet, we would want it."
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
I'll get right on that.
So I took it out and I just left it outside our front door.
You told them?
Yeah. I was
Wow.
like, come by and get it. They just never got it. So this purple toilet was sitting outside my front door for like several days.
They ain't getting
Anyways,
a call from me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking, gosh, could I just do it the same way that they did that? But there's got to be really good reasons why. But you look at that tile and other than it being like, dingy and stuff, it looks like probably the day it was installed. There's no cracks. I mean, it looks great. You guys have been in some of my bathrooms. Other than the color and it's like dingy and stuff, it still looks great.
It's a time capsule.
Yeah, on those, if the subfloor, if there's no water damage, it's fine.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm thinking that it's because they did such a good job with it that there is no water damage. Mm-hmm. But now that house that you guys flipped, Josh, it was like an older ranch, right? And you had water damage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I remember
they let
breaking
their toilet get out of control, like leaking, and so
there was that curb.
So then the floor starts caving in, which allows everything to
there was a curb into, I think, the shower. And I remember we had to break that up with a sledgehammer.
And they had a lead pan.
Now, I don't know if they still do it like that. I can't imagine that it's done like that today.
not quite
But
the
man, that thing, you could have hit it with a truck and it wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, back to the point, there's a bunch of variables. There's a time element. There's, financial element. There's how volatile is the project. Like risk reward on tile, super high. Like other stuff, not so much. Like framing, all that.
Right.
That's easy. Like, and that's something that's a very good intro to renovating a space. Is
Josh,
like tackle framing yourself.
You just hit all my main points, and I'm going to break it down for you, okay? I'm going to be the contrarian and say it's not worth it, all right? I'm not doing it anymore. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, and I'm to the age now where nobody told me this was going to happen, but I'm just tired all the time. I did not used to be like this. I'm just tired all the time. It doesn't matter how much sleep I get. So I don't know if it's that, or if it's I don't have as much time anymore, raising 2 young kids. You don't have a whole lot of time on your hands. I don't know. I'm not, back in the days where I was making $9 an hour, like I'd be doing everything myself. Like, I don't know if it's that. I'm just not doing it. Like, I'm not going to say I'm not going to do anything. Today, I patched a hole in an interior, like drywall. And I'm not calling somebody to do that. But these jobs, I'll be calling, they're probably not going to get done because I don't want to pay anyone to do them. So that's the issue.
Well, Dave, there's this podcast. It's called You
I
Can,
know.
Man.
I host a do-it-yourself podcast, and I'm telling everybody to not do it themselves.
Right.
I don't believe that. But there's also like a mental hurdle where I'm like, God, I don't want to do that tile job.
Well, for me recently, there's been a mental health perspective. That's a very cliche word right now. But like there's a portion of like you have a project that you're capable of that's sitting there that you look at every day that on a level grinds on you every day because it's not done. And so you beat yourself up and you're like, I should be able to get that done. And so recently, I've taken a couple of those projects, like we had some landscaping, like 2 phases of landscaping projects at our house that have been needed to be done for 6 years. And we paid money that we really didn't want to spend, but the professionals got it knocked out in a day, and I didn't have to do it. And now every day I come home and I can look at it and say, hey, that looks nice, instead of I'm a piece of crap because I haven't taken on this project.
You're right, Josh. I did the same thing with Tim, you told me. So my what the heck happened? My garage door spring broke. That's what it was. And Tim said, I think you texted me. You're like, hey, man, it is time to get rid of the oldest garage door in the city of Marietta, right? And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to do this myself. Hired it out. So glad I did it. So glad I hired it out because it would have taken me forever. I wouldn't have done it right. It would have leaked water all the time. So, yeah, it's a good point. Just get it done.
Now, if that spring breaks, you can do that yourself.
Yes, because Tim
I hope
has
you're
done
listening. Garage Door Mafia on
snap
Instagram.
shots fired.
Yeah.
They weren't so we said that a while back that you could do it. They weren't happy about it. And
for
they
new
had,
listeners,
They tried to cancel us.
We need to explain this because for new listeners, they're not going to know what in the world is talking about. We did an entire show on do-it-yourself garage door repair, and I talked all about how I replaced my own torsion spring. And you talked,
which is dangerous.
It is dangerous.
They have a point.
It is dangerous, but it's totally doable. And we had, I don't know, what would we do? Put some hashtags on our Instagram post,
Right.
and this
Hashtag garage door.
Yeah, this friggin' group that literally calls themselves
They were salty about it.
The Garage Door Mafia, like attacked us on social media.
Yep.
And it's like they even left a review on Apple Podcasts, and we're like, "Listener beware," blah blah. And
in that voice,
come on, seriously.
The issue they've got to deal with the like with
That's
the after
their
effects.
livelihood.
Like they have to deal with it when it goes wrong.
True.
So they see the trauma that it creates.
But
so
we talked about that.
I get it from that perspective. But look, if you want to replace your own spring, replace your own spring. But
I'm going to go ahead and just say a grandma could do it. Take that Garage Door Mafia. If it's
There are
small,
videos online of an older woman on a ladder, like doing it herself.
if you take your time, you do your research, you methodically do it, it's totally fine. I did it, whatever. Okay.
Back to the topic.
Right.
Moving
but
on.
honestly, that's one of those things that somebody would be like, oh, I really need to hire a professional to do that. Well, again, it depends on the person. But what we want to do is kind of just like walk you through this mentally and your decision-making process. Now, I was going to mention too that what has really helped me before is to be able to talk it through, like a specific project, talk it through with somebody that has done it before. Now, you probably want to choose a friend of yours that is optimistic and not pessimistic.
Don't talk to Dave.
Don't talk to Dave. So like when people will call me and talk to me about, hey, is this something I can do? And I'm always like, yeah, you can totally do this. And I'll walk them through it. Yep. But having somebody that's done it before, we're always big on with a little help from your friends. And that is such a massive part of this, to be able to literally call somebody up and talk to them. I've got this project. I'm dreading it. I think I could do it. Never done it before. I know you've done it before. Can you walk me through it? And then that's going to really help you decide what to do. So if you're a dude or gal listening to this right now and you're thinking about tackling a project, hey, reach out to somebody. So talk to your wife or whatever. Be like, okay, I listened to the podcast and they told me I need to find a friend to talk it through. Do you know anybody that's done this before? And chances are good we can find somebody for you that's done the project you're thinking about doing, or post about it on the Facebook group.
Yeah,
Yes.
Reach out. We can get you connected maybe with somebody who can help you out. But also at the end of the day, I like to joke that I'm gonna hire everything out. I don't do that. But at the end of the day, you're far more capable, I think, than you give yourself credit for. Because when I bought a house, nobody taught me how to do this stuff. Like Tim says it all the time, YouTube's your best friend. There's a ton of information out there. There are books you can get at your local big box store, and you can do a lot of these projects. You got to jump into it.
Yeah, every single project's going to be completely different. So based on your own skill set, this is not we can't sit here and say like, oh yeah, you can definitely do this. You can't do this. You need to hire a pro for that. I don't think you can ever really say that, because I think everybody's skill set is different. So what one guy would say like, oh my gosh, you're going to hire somebody for that. The next guy's like, yeah, I really need to do that. So there's certain things like with me, I've done tons of stuff, but I've just never done tile work. So, I'll be talking to somebody else that does a lot of things themselves. And, I'll talk to them about taking out this massive load bearing wall. And they're like, oh my gosh, you did that? Like, yeah, I did that. And then I'll be like, I've never done tile. They're like, seriously? You've never done tile before? So again, it's going to be on an individual project basis. But what we want to do is just get you guys thinking of that mental process involved, you need to get together with a friend that's done it before and talk it through with them. But we're always going to encourage you to do things yourself for sure. But we wanted you guys to start thinking through, is this something that's actually worth doing myself, or should I hire a pro? So hopefully this has at least got you thinking about what you should do next. Okay. I think we've actually got a bonus segment this week.
Yes, we do.
Josh is bringing it.
Has a bonus segment about what do we call this? The Midwest tornadoes? What are we calling this?
Yeah. This is
they call them twisters out there.
The Quad State.
Quad State
tornado.
Okay, good deal. So if you follow our Facebook group, I had posted a link to donate if you wanted to donate. It was through the Southern Baptist. They have like a really amazing disaster relief program. And so I had posted a link on our Facebook group if you wanted to donate to that. But we'll be back right after the break. Do you have an idea for a website that you've just been sitting on forever and ever and just can't get it off the ground? Well, maybe website hosting and domain name registration and all these things kind of confuse you. They did me at one point in time, but I've been using getsimple.net for years. Hosting your website can be really complex, such a hassle, but not when you go to getsimple.net. Whether you need hosting for something specific like WordPress or you need to register a domain name, Simple Source Solutions can help you dump the stress and get back to doing what makes your business great. Simple Source is your trusted hosting provider for all your hosting needs. We've got a promo code for you guys. So to get started, visit getsimple.net and use promo code YCM for 10% off your order. That's promo code YCM at getsimple.net. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm really interested to hear this, Josh. I selfishly asked you to do a bonus segment on the tornadoes because I knew you do a way better job at researching it.
Josh loves weather.
He does. And I'm really interested to hear about the tornadoes. Man, awful tragedy. And but let's hear about it. What happened?
Yeah, so I was actually so I started my research about a week ago. I mean, these only happened like December 10th. The night of December 10th. So that's 9 days ago. So there's still data coming out. And so even since I started my research, I've had to like go back and update some numbers. But I do love weather, super fascinated by tornadoes. I texted Dave the other day because when, David and I used to be roommates and we'd like a storm would come and like we'd go out and like storm chase it. And, it wasn't ever anything super serious. I told him, as I'm older now, I have to preface my fascination with tornadoes and my wish to see a tornado in person because I'm always like, I'd love to see a tornado in person. I was like, let me clarify. I'd love to see a tornado from a distance in a very open area.
Maybe moving left to right and not directly at you or away from you.
So the fascination is kind of it's still there, but
a little more cautious.
To see one. I don't want to see one near my house.
This is getting, it's not off topic, but I'm going to interrupt you and ask you, do you guys have the dream where you're like, you're staring at a tornado and you're like, I finally have seen one. And like you wake up and you're like, wait a minute.
I've had multiple tornado dreams, but not.
I have that one and the dream where you didn't graduate high school or college and you still have to go back to the class. Anyway.
All right. So back to this tornado. So this was a massive tornado outbreak and the deadliest and largest on record in the month of December.
Yeah, in December. That's what seems so weird.
Pretty rare to have an outbreak of this size in December. Like December tornado is pretty common, but this outbreak consisted of 62 different tornadoes so far confirmed. Damage from Arkansas through Missouri, Illinois, just the bottom tip of Missouri, bottom tip of Illinois, and then really long track through Kentucky, and it also hit the corner of Tennessee. So across the Mississippi River.
Wasn't it? It was in Mississippi too, no?
No, this was north of Mississippi. Went over the Mississippi River. What was crazy about this storm system is one of the most prolific long track supercell systems. So a supercell is like the big thunderstorm. If you've heard of a hook echo, it has like a certain shape that is like signature
Radar
storm.
indicated tornado.
Yeah, signature storm that can produce tornadoes and likely produce tornadoes. And this one specific supercell they tracked, it would have been the longest tornado, consistent, like on the ground tornado since 1925, where a tornado was on the ground for 250 miles straight.
Dang.
It would have surpassed that, but there was an actual, like, it was two independent tornadoes. So the storm dropped a tornado that was like 100 and, no, this one was 81 miles, and then it kind of broke up, I think, around the Mississippi River, and then redropped another tornado that went another like 165 miles. So an insane like 600-mile path, basically, this storm took, dropping tornadoes. Killed a bunch of people. I think 75 at last count. 55 injured. And
these were at night, weren't they?
Yeah, these are the super dangerous ones at night. And these ones that aren't out west are, there's more trees, there's more populated areas. It's
hard to see them,
just
right?
a lot of, now our technology is still really good as far as warning against tornadoes. So a lot of people, I mean, a storm like this 80 years ago would have killed way more people. There was one candle factory. I don't know if you guys heard, Mayfield, Kentucky. Mayfield was like the hardest hit town.
Now, did the truth ever come out about, because I heard all this or read the headlines or something where it was like the employer wouldn't let the employees go home.
No, they said, I heard that they told them, don't leave. Or,
like, you'll be fired if you leave, kind of thing?
That's still up in the air. I think 15 at least employees have hired an attorney to start addressing this. So that'll get handled in the courts. Don't know what's true, but I've seen a lot of interviews on both sides. Like, some of the people, it was a candle factory. It paid like the minimum wage a lot of times, it sounded like, but it was a place that employed over 200 people. I think there were 110 people there that night because they're producing for Christmas. It's a place where people who really can't get any other jobs can work. Like, they take, a lot of felons, like, or people with criminal history, basically, who get denied a lot of other jobs, work here. So a lot of people love it. And then, like, from when I was looking at a lot of interviews, people were saying it's slave labor and all that'll come out in the end. But the worry was there was 110 people, and there was a bunch of people unaccounted for in the first 8 hours the next morning. It turns out 8 people died, which is way less than they thought. 17 hospitalized. Yeah, a couple of heroic stories out of there. Inadequate preparation, it sounded like, was a factor.
From the candle factory. You're still talking about that?
Yeah, sorry, from the candle factory. Still... Yeah, even proper places for employees to go, it sounds like may have been an issue.
Have they determined how the strength of these tornadoes yet?
Yeah, so the 3 major ones, and again, there were 62
tornadoes.
I heard that one of them was like a mile wide.
Yes.
How does that work?
I can't even fathom it. Like,
well, if you've watched the movie Twister, you can.
There was an
it.
There were 2 EF4s and an EF3 that were like the big that caused almost all of the deaths. The EF4 that tracked from Woodland Mills, Tennessee, up to McDaniels, Kentucky, 165 miles on the ground, 165 miles, and was about a mile wide.
EF4
its largest.
That's an incredible tornado. If you're not aware, the EF scale goes from 0 to 5, and 4 is. I mean, that's a rough one.
Yes.
Really bad.
4 is terrible. 5 is... 5 basically just wipes the earth clean.
It scours the earth.
There is some scouring. I couldn't confirm date on this. There was a seismograph near the path of the tornado, and people are looking at that data because they think the seismograph might have picked up the scouring of the earth, which means that's what a bulldozer does to the earth.
Yeah.
So... insane power involved.
When you have a tornado, maybe you guys don't know the answer to this, that's a mile wide. Does it have like an eye? Like, meaning, like, in the inside of it, is it like...
I don't know. And I think that's, they're trying to study that. People like Reed Timmer, who was on the show, like
Helen
Storm
Hunt.
Chasers, Helen Hunt, Paxton. No. So Reed Timmer, though, is a meteorologist, storm chaser. He's got the Dominator, that specialized storm chasing vehicle. he and other people now are trying to deploy things like in the path of tornadoes and even like fly drones into tornadoes that have the ability to capture data to try to get that information because no one's ever.
That's literally the plot of the movie Twister. Go check it out.
I know this sounds weird, and I think I've said this about other scientific stuff that we don't know. It's kind of comforting to me that with all of our technology and our vast knowledge, that we still have so many unanswered questions about the raw power
it is
of
incredible.
God's nature.
Yeah.
You'd think that we would have some answers on this tornado situation, but there's so much stuff that we still don't know.
Yeah, but you kind of got to go stand out in front of it and, throw something at
there's like a few years ago, two of the most prolific storm chasers, one guy's name was Tim Samaras, who really pioneered that whole like getting in front of a storm, deploying. And he was known as like the safe guy, like not the cowboy storm chaser. And he got caught up and killed in his truck, got rolled by a tornado. And so it's like these are real scientists like being very methodical and careful, and they still get the tornado took a turn that no one expected. And
I mean, could they not? I mean, I don't know. I guess you'd have to like have a friggin' ton of these things, but could they not have just like bulletproof weather station things,
the Dominator,
that are everywhere, that are just like anchored to the earth?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure it's been discussed.
I mean, it would cost millions upon millions of dollars, but especially like in Kansas or whatever, when they can kind of predict sort of like storms of paths. What am I trying to say? Storm paths,
right?
It seems like maybe this already exists. Maybe
I don't know. There'd be like, you'd like put out a grid of
that's what I mean.
Data stations that could pick up.
Right. Now, you'd have to maintain these things and all kinds of, I mean, that would be so expensive.
I'm sure it's on the list of items because, now they're using drone technology. Because that's the thing. They're so unpredictable that you have to go to them at this point to try to get in front of them. So, really terrible, huge outbreak. The Corvette factory, I only bring this up. So Bowling Green, Kentucky was another population center.
Oh, we got hit? Place with a sinkhole?
So the Corvette factory,
dang.
An EF2 came near it. It was probably only an EF1 by the time it ripped off the factory. So couldn't find anything on the museum itself. But the factory got
ripped the roof off.
A security outbuilding was destroyed. I bring that up because I've been to the Corvette Museum, and like 8 years ago, a sinkhole opened up under the Corvette Museum.
We saw cars in the sinkhole.
Yeah, it was right. We went right after. Then there's still a portal, I think, into the sinkhole. But
I like how you call it a portal.
Anyway, you can't. Yeah, not everyone can say we've had a sinkhole and a tornado.
I'd maybe move the museum at this point. It's just a thought.
Maybe it's in Dixie Alley for sure. This was actually a little further north than typical, but Kentucky does get its share of tornadoes, especially the eastern part of the state. Let's see some other interesting things. There was a photo that was found 130 miles away in Indiana that was traced back. So a man in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, confirmed that a tornado that belonged to them traveled 130 miles by car, or as the crow flies.
You mean a photo that
photo. Sorry, what did I say?
A tornado. A tornado that belonged to them.
Sorry, a tornado. Confusing. Tornado. Photo that belonged to them, carried by the tornado from Dawson Springs to somewhere in Indiana. Can't find the name of the town. So that's interesting. That comes up because this tornado outbreak set some records, especially the biggest tornado. I'm reading some tweets here. There was a record, apparently a record that is yet to be confirmed, but the Mayfield, Kentucky tornado, which was that EF4, lofted debris, and this is mind-blowing, lofted debris over 30,000 feet into the air.
Dang.
That's like
means
that's like
it's
Delta
like a
Airline
Dyson vacuum
territory.
Sucked 30,000 feet. Now, so a tornado debris signature can be picked up by radar. So the new advanced radars can now tell the difference between rain and hail and actual like physical debris off the ground. And so this is the highest ever recorded like debris signature that high.
That's 5 miles.
It's called TDS. Yeah, tornado debris signature. anything over 18,000 feet is considered like extremely severe. So
I mean, this is morbid, but like these people that died, is this like confirmed? Like we found your body, or is it this person was definitely confirmed to be in this house at such and such time, and the house is no longer there? What I'm getting at is, were there people that died that were like sucked up 30,000 feet and then dumped like 100 miles away?
Not typically. Not typically.
I don't know that you find.
How does that work?
In tornadoes, most deaths are caused by flying debris and building collapse.
Yeah.
And not like
I get
you
that.
physically being
not
sucked into
Wizard
the
of
tornado.
Oz.
I'm just
style.
saying, like, if you're in a house and you get killed by flying debris because your house is literally being torn apart.
Right.
This is horrible. And your house gets sucked up into the debris field along with you.
Yeah.
You're wondering
That's
about
what
remains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, how?
Who knows?
Here is, I don't have the other statistic, oddly. I did pull up the longest distance carried by a tornado and surviving. So I didn't see anything on a dead body being carried. But somebody was carried 1,300 feet, which is just about a quarter of a mile. And survived.
Really?
Yeah. So there's my little.
Like, how?
I read a story about a little girl who was in this outbreak, and she was in a house with her family, and she lived, but she said she rode in the tornado. Like it picked her up and threw her. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Bonkers power involved here. So some more statistics. A 283 mile per hour gate to gate velocity was recorded. So this is.
Wait, say that again? 280 miles an hour?
283 mile per hour gate to gate. But the caveat is this was at 5,000 feet above the ground. So
what is gate to gate?
A Doppler radar reads, it shoots beams out, and then it also reads the bounce back coming in, and it goes in all directions. So this is very confusing. But if you're sending out waves against a tornado, some of those waves are like coming back at you faster, and the ones that are hitting the moisture going away from you move the other way. So some are coming at you and some are moving away from you in a tornado. And that's what gives you that signature red and green. I don't know if you've ever seen this, if you watch like the weather when tornadoes are coming, but it's like a red and green. They call it a couplet. And that means there's areas of air right against each other where air is moving completely opposite directions.
Okay.
So that's telling you like a rotation is happening. 283 miles an hour gate to gate means about half of that speed, like 120, 140 miles per hour is coming at the radar, and 140 miles an hour is going away from the radar. So that's the twisting, like.
Wow.
Anyway, 283 is a massive number, 5,000 feet above the ground. That's why that number is significant.
Yeah.
So not ground level rotation.
Right.
This is
So you're saying
5,000 feet in the air. The storm is spinning at 283 miles.
so
per hour,
it could have
basically.
been more at the ground level?
Yes, and they there was another. I don't know if I printed it out.
Or it likely was faster.
Yeah, somebody caught a reading, which may be the highest recorded, because the highest recorded is like 303 miles per hour, and people were saying this was like 310.
That's incredible. I mean, this is your friendly building designer chiming in now. I don't want to say you want to kiss your butt goodbye, but that's you got. I mean, the buildings are not designed to withstand that. I mean, all right, most buildings are not designed to withstand that sort of wind pressure. That's an incredible.
You'd have to be in like a concrete
incredible.
bunker.
Well, that's what we'll get
they're
to.
specially designed structures that can only withstand that.
Now, I
It's
did
rough.
see-
You got to get below ground.
I saw, and I'm sure there's more stories of this, but you guys have seen those where you like literally dig a hole in your backyard, and they have these like
a hatch.
one unit little.
You can do them under your
hatches.
garage.
Yeah, and it's just like a little stairwell, and
It's
then
a,
just like
it's a dream.
If
just
for
enough
whatever
room.
reason, I move out of a house with a basement, like that's going to be a must.
But they used it and survived.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Dropping it into your garage door, garage floor.
You can park on it, park on top of it.
So now you have to get rid of your car.
Yeah,
on short
you got to
notice.
move it.
But I've also seen, I mean, this is everywhere now in Oklahoma. Is
The
they
concrete
they just build a
bunkers,
bunker in your garage. They just bore. They just put rods into the slab of your garage and then tie that into the concrete bunker, and you basically go sit in a gun safe until it passes. But multiple people have been proven like they survive. House is gone, bunker's there.
Wow.
And that's the only way you're getting around these. Like when you get up into EF4, EF5 territory, unless you are below ground.
Yep.
Fully, like
over.
even this house, like I'm saying Tim's house or my house with a basement, an EF5's just gonna that's not gonna matter. Like it's gonna take the house and then it's gonna pull everything out of it with it. Oh yeah. So if it's a direct hit, I've got some pictures here, which is great for podcasts. But if you guys can see these, I'll describe them. There's basically just a tree limb like shot through the tire of this like big Silverado.
Jeez.
Just in one side and out the other.
That's like a 2x4 going through a tire.
Yeah, there's a refrigerator just wedged into this branch of a tree.
About 20 feet off the ground.
Yeah, big oak tree or something, and the refrigerator's just shoved into it. Stucco house, just all kinds of debris just popped right through that wall. Like it wasn't even there. Just these are like gunshot looking things. And then there's like a 2x6 through the roof of the house.
Jeez.
Like it was nothing. So at these strengths, you have no chance unless you have a fortified building. And again,
but they're incredibly rare. They're very rare.
They are. Let me talk about that for a second. So it's yes and no. Depends on where you live, obviously. Where's my chart? So let me read you off. These are the single deadliest tornadoes in U.S. history. I'll just read you the dates that these happened. Deadliest tornadoes in history, 695 deaths, tri-state tornado. And these are single tornadoes. These are not outbreak. This is a single tornado. 695 deaths, tri-state tornado, 1925. And then it goes down from there to like about 115 deaths was the number 10. The years, 1925, 1840, 1896, 1936, 1936, 1947, 2011, 1908, 1899, 1953.
That has to be because of the technology.
Yes,
like you
that's
could not
exactly
you couldn't
that
warn
story.
people.
So
right?
we have not like
I mean, Dave,
2011.
but I think global warming really ramped up then. I think that's actually
I've also got that chart too. So that chart is there is no from 1954, even with our ability to confirm tornadoes better than 1954 over time, we get better at seeing what is a tornado and knowing what's happening in the country weather-wise. There's no real trend. There's actually a big swell from 1970 to about 1984. If you guys are looking at the chart,
it looks like a pretty consistent.
And it is pretty consistent. So there are not outbreaks of more severe tornadoes necessarily. There's some peak years like 2010, 2017, like a few peak years here and there. But
we had peak years way back when.
So point being, we are in fact saving countless lives by the technology that we have to warn people that this is coming.
And
yes?
and you've had a pretty consistent amount of sounds like severe weather since the early 1900s. It looks like
and
based on that research,
technology and education goes a long way. So since this is the UK Mind podcast, I know we're probably going over time, but CDC, wherever you want to look, weather.gov, you can find what you should do. It's all the same. Go interior room. If you don't have a basement, go to an interior room. Stay away from windows. Get as low as you can. Do not be in a mobile home. In your car, this was interesting. I feel like this is a change, but in your car, I always heard, get out of your car.
I'm like, I'm not getting out. I'm just not going to get out.
Get in a ditch or something. And this, now it just says, don't try to outrun it and don't seek shelter in an overpass.
I would outrun it.
Now, why the overpass thing?
Because the speed of the wind increases.
There's two reasons.
As I understand it, Josh is about to debunk me.
No,
as I understand it, it's essentially a narrower opening that the wind is blowing through. And when that happens, if you can imagine, the wind speed increases underneath that overpass.
Okay, the pressure.
Yeah. Now, if you can get like tucked way up in it, like under the girders, you're probably okay. But the big reason is traffic jams. People stop their cars and they're freaked out, so they don't pull off the road. They just get out, get to an overpass,
and then nobody can get out of there.
A traffic jam of 200 cars now, where a tornado is going to just take them. So that's the number one reason.
Wow!
And that was all. Literally, everyone points back to there was an Oprah episode where a family was.
I was just thinking that. Yeah,
I think everyone
took shelter up, and everyone.
But they were tucked like way.
Yeah, they were all the way up under it, but. From that point on, the weather experts like had to just go against that because everyone saw that and was like, "Oh, that's what you do. That's the safest place."
Do they say now you can stay in your car? Because I've always heard get out of your car and get into a ditch, and I'm like, "Nah."
They say get in a ditch if you can, but it just says if you're unable to make it to safe shelter, this is option 1: get low in your vehicle and cover your neck or head, or you can leave your vehicle and go to a low-lying area. So,
I would do what they tell you not to do, which is try and outrun it.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. Let's see what else. That's it. Just the usual. Be safe. Helmets is a thing now.
I did helmets one time.
I read a story. I couldn't re-find it, but someone in Kentucky had put their baby in a car seat, like their baby.
Yeah.
And I think the baby survived. I think.
No, if it
there was one baby that didn't survive.
Yeah, there was that one because like they showed a picture of this one baby. And they're like,
she was only 2 months old.
Yeah, and then like a couple days later, it's like she passed.
I've done the helmets thing because we don't have anywhere. Like we're on a crawl space on a hill, and so we're essentially just a tornado target.
Yep.
And so we get under our staircase in a closet. But I've done the helmet thing. Like it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
like if something falls on your head, you want a helmet on.
With anything else, your body's exposed. You want to protect your head and your neck.
Yep.
Don't waste time looking for helmets if a tornado is imminent.
Get them ready early.
Yeah, have them in the closet or wherever you go. I think that's about it. I think that's a wrap. It was a terrible tornado. I've got 2 siblings that live in western Kentucky, and luckily the storm's pretty much dissipated. I think my sister, a tornado passed just north of her town, right on the tail end of that storm. But anyway, if you want to donate, go to our webpage. I know if you go to GoFundMe, like wherever you want to go, but Southern Baptist, like they do tons of really intense on the ground where it's needed relief,
as is Salvation Army and of course Red Cross. Any of those are going to be really
and
good.
Another You Can Man thing, like this guy was all over CNN and everything. He was in a nearby town, drove his grill to Mayfield, Kentucky.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
just to feed people. And that's if you really want to help. Number one, stay out of the way. Bring things that are necessary: water, food. The best way is to get hooked up with people who are trained relief volunteers. Yeah. But that's not saying don't help out at all. Like if you're able to, take what you can and help people out and give them a hug or whatever they need.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. This will, of course, be our last show of the year.
See you next year.
But hey, we're committed. We're going to try to be doing this once a month. We think that that's doable. So tune in January sometime. And hey, hit us up on the Facebook group page if there's some topics you want us to tackle. We're definitely going to be having some guests on some future episodes. So let us know if there's something that interests you that you want us to talk about.
Or if you know someone interesting that should be on the show.
For sure. Yeah. All right. You guys have a Merry Christmas, and we'll catch you next time.